Welcome to the 100 Master Coaches series featuring master coaches from around the world. Let's journey together on this 100 Master Coaches series with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Maya Hu Chan is an internationally recognized keynote speaker, best-selling author, and master certified executive coach. She specializes in global leadership, cross-cultural management, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Ranked as one of the top leadership coaches and thought leaders in management and leadership in the world, Maya has worked with thousands of leaders in global Fortune 500 companies, nonprofits, and public sectors worldwide. Now on to the show.
Hello, and welcome to the 100 Master Coaches show. This is Coach Mel, and today my special guest is from San Diego, USA. Her name is Maya Hu Chan. Give her a big round of applause, everybody. Great to have you on the show, Maya.
Thank you so much, Mel. I'm really honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
You're most welcome. Before we jump into the interview, I just often ask this question, right? Tell me, who is Maya? Just the normal Maya, not the world famous leadership guru, speaker, coach.
Who is Maya?
Who is
Wow.
Maya? Mm.
I thought you were going to give me a softball question, but this is a tough one. My goodness. Okay. Well, so who is Maya? I have to tell you now, nobody actually asked me this question before. I'm a mother.
Yeah.
I'm a wife. I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. And I'm a friend to my friends. And I'm an executive coach. I think that summed it up. Those are, I think I gave you a whole bunch of my roles, right? The hats that I'm wearing. But in the essence, who is Maya? That's a deep question that I have to meditate on that. Okay. I may come back to you with that.
No worries, Maya. You did wonderful. Now, Maya, I hear a lot of people say, hey, Mel, and I'm sure you do too, Maya, I want to be a coach like you.
Yes, I heard that a lot. Yes.
And then I often say, what do you think is your first step, right? Just like a coach, right? Often we ask questions, right? But then if they say, hey, this is not a coaching session, so let's just focus on you telling me a couple of things I can do to start out, right? I wonder, Maya, if someone asks you that right off the bat, right? What will be the three things that you say to kind of describe what coaching is all about to you?
Wow. So, like I said, I heard the same question.
Yeah.
Quite a lot. And people often thought being a coach seemed kind of easy because,
questions.
you sit there and listen and ask questions and, but for me, that coaching it's not something that mechanical.
Yeah. Right.
And then it requires, when I have coaching sessions with my clients, it's my whole being is there. I give 100% that being present with my client. Yeah. And usually the coaching session lasts about an hour. And I am completely open at the beginning of the hour to receive what the client wanted to work on, what they wish to accomplish, or what problem they would like to solve. Okay, so I'm there to open to receive it, and it's always a surprise. It's kind of like the quote from Forrest Gump, right? The movie. It's like a box of chocolates. The chocolate, you open it up, you have no idea what you're going to get. You have to take a bite and then to really taste it and then discover what kind of chocolate you're going to have. And so some chocolate is delicious and creamy, and it's very
Yeah.
easy, and it goes smoothly. At
Yeah.
the end, you'll be like, wow, this is wonderful.
Mm.
And both me and the client feel that we have moved the needle. We
Yeah.
have either resolved the problem or we move things forward. And then that to see them, walk away, have a sense of directions and clarity. And they feel good about what they're going to do or be going forward. But sometimes the chocolate could be a little bit bitter and it's not always easy to kind of resolve the issue in a short time. And then so you may have to work on it. And sometimes it can require multiple sessions, and sometimes there will be some resistance and some struggles, and can get very emotional. So the way I see coaching is it's really about two people, the coach and a coachee, that we're like partners. Okay. And I like to think that we are thinking partners, that we're in this journey together, and I am walking side by side with them.
Yeah.
And during the time we're together, that we're thinking together, and I feel how they feel, and I'm empathetic, put myself in their shoes, and then I would also challenge them to stretch their thinking, and to help them think outside of the box, and sometimes actually push them a little bit outside of their comfort zone. But then at the end of the day, it's really about to help the client get to where they want to be. And so it's a partnership, it's a collaboration, and it's not a mechanical thing, right? And it requires a lot of emotional engagement. So it's not just it's not just intellectual, it's not always left brain focused. In fact, a lot of it is right brain. You have to have my whole being is there with the client throughout the hour, throughout the session, and to continue to guide them, continue to be with them, and to see how they reach the point that they feel that they have achieved what they wanted.
Beautiful. I kind of get this thought even as you're speaking. It's like this invisible best buddy who's there. And then sometimes not present in flesh, but they're there. It's like a conscience, right? And they're just whispering questions and challenging their thoughts. And so whilst you were talking, my mind was just was just going there and like, I've never thought of it that way.
It really, I think it is. And but then the interesting thing is, coaching relationship is unlike any relationship. And it requires a very, very deep sense of trust.
It's true.
Right. And and a lot of times that the coach and the coachee don't really know each other very well.
It's true.
But then they have to go deep very quickly. So I think as a coach, it required high emotional intelligence to be able to kind of meet the client where they are, and then sense that this is where I'm going to meet them, and then actually meet them there at that level. So as a coach, I don't have any agenda. I always tell my client, I don't have any agenda, and your agenda is my agenda, and let's figure it out what it is. And sometimes they say, you tell me what I should do. Right? Have you heard that? So you're
many times.
You're supposed to tell me. You're supposed to tell me what to do.
And then I say, read my book. Maya, I'm just thinking right now, who was your first inspiration as you walked into the world of coaching?
Well, I can think of two people that I think have a very profound influence in me. And the first one is somebody that I have never met. and her name is Maya
That's interesting.
Angelou, right? So Maya Angelou, that she,
Yeah.
the work that she did, her accomplishment, and then also her, the quote that I often use, that really, really helped me to be doing my job as a coach, is that she, I think many of you have heard, your audience have heard this quote from Maya Angelou, is that people may not remember what you said, they may not remember what you did, but they will always remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
Right? And then so I think that says a lot about that connection, that trust that you build, that rapport you build with your client. And that respect, that deep sense of respect that you have for your client, to want to really support them, and then help them achieve their sense of well-being and success. So Maya Angelou, she's my hero, and then I cannot tell you how much the influence that I have received from my mentor, Marshall Goldsmith. Hey, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith was the one that actually, we've known each other, worked together for over 30 years. Wow. And so he was the one that actually I first got me into this profession of leadership development. And this was back in the late 80s, that I was just a newly graduated graduate student, and just got my degree. And also, I'm originally from Taiwan, so I came here to go to graduate school, went to University of Pennsylvania, I got my degree, and then totally by accident, that I work for his firm. Back then it's called Kyoto Goldsmith and Company. So that was located in La Jolla, California, which is in San Diego. And so I stumbled into this opportunity to work for him. And I back then he wasn't that famous like today. So but then also back then there was no coaching. Nobody knew what coaching was. And so what we did was that we run leadership development programs. Clients. We go to corporations and usually large Fortune 500 companies. We will run 360. We will have 25 leaders coming through the programs. Usually it's a 2.5-day program that they will learn everything about leadership, and they will then receive their 360 feedback. And so I was so completely new to this field. So I was traveling and doing programs with Marshall at the time, and then learned everything about leadership development, and then also started providing feedback to clients. And so that's the sort of just the beginning of coaching, right? That people receive their feedback. And so back then in the 80s, that was the end of feedback. And then there's, people get their feedback, and then we spend an hour with the coach. Oh, I know what the feedback was, and then identify some of the strengths and development areas, and then we're done. That's an hour. So after a while, the clients start asking, well, this is not enough. We know what our strengths are, what our development areas are. But then we need to develop those areas. So we need some ongoing guidance. And then so that's when coaching was born. It was because the client started to request more and more long-term one-on-one or group coaching. And so Marshall, of course, was someone that created stakeholder-centered coaching methodology. And I worked with him very closely over the years. And so I was doing coaching when nobody knew what coaching was. This was a long time ago. And but then over time, that coaching has really become a very much a valued development, leadership development, intervention, and it's something that really helped leaders grow. So so here we are, right?
Thank you. That was a beautiful whirlwind that you brought me through. I'm just curious, right? Working with Marshall so closely, as you said, right? Even when he was known for leadership development, and then obviously he had his books that came out, right? What got you here? What got you there? It's just amazing to see how that growth happened. But today the show is about you, Maya. So I'm interested in your growth, telling the audience how you developed yourself and how you prepared yourself to become this amazing coach, recognized obviously worldwide. Wanted to know if there are some key insights that you've learned through your years.
Well, Mel, I think over the years that it's one thing that I love about being a coach, and also just in the leadership development field, is that you have to keep learning, right? There's no end to it. And that you never know, like it's going back to the analogy about the chocolate, that you just never know that what the client is going to come to you with. And so as a leader, a leadership development coach, that we have to always educate ourselves, and then be always be aware of what are some of the industry challenges or the business challenges that the clients are facing. So not only we have to be familiar with the coaching methodology and techniques and skill set, that's just the basics. But then it's also important to be able to develop knowledge about their industry, about their ecosystem, and about their challenges, and also opportunities that's happening in their world. So, a lot of this, and it require us to do a lot of research and reading, of course, but then a lot of it specifically about each client is that we have to really be able to listen and to learn from them, right? And one thing I have learned over the years that never make it, even I have seen all the comments that their coworkers said about them. And in my mind, before I even met with the client, there is an image, there is about what this client is about, right? But then you have to leave that at the door. As soon as you walk in the door or you turn on the Zoom, that you see them, that we have to start from a blank page, that I listen to them and really listen to them, and then I just remain curious and without prejudging. Because a lot of times I find that as soon as I have some prejudgment or sort of a determined notion about them based on what I read about them, and then there's always things that will prove I was wrong. So I think it's something that I have learned over the years, is that always remain open to learn, because there's always some stories about the client you don't know. And even their people they work with for years, their coworkers may not know. And then what's on the 360 feedback doesn't tell the whole story. So so always be able to let them tell their story.
I get this picture about holding up that light. It's like we are the light holder, holding that light that shines on them, because the spotlight is on them, not on us as the coach, isn't it? And then I think, Maya, then there are challenges, of course, and then there are things that we go through in and during the coaching that sometimes challenges us as well. It challenges maybe our own values, our own belief systems, because the client is coming from a different space, different conditioning. How would you personally manage that within yourself? I'm just curious to find out, as you meet many different people, right? And you may not obviously agree with 100% of what they're saying, but how do you manage that, Maya?
That's such a good question, Mel. And as I'm thinking about you know, the leaders that I have coached over the years, and literally thousands of leaders, and some of them are short-term, some of them are very long-term clients, right? And they're definitely not every client is easy to work with.
Sure.
And some of them may not feel like they want to do this at all. In fact, they feel like they're being forced to work with the coach because they need to be fixed, right? Because their boss want them to do it, their HR want them to do it. They're having some problems at work. And so when you have when you have coaching clients like that, that I often just sit back and then say, let's just talk. Forget about the 360 feedback. Okay. let's just chat.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good. That's good.
And I was asked them, what do you really want?
Wow.
What's important to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Forget about coaching. Right? What's really important to you? What do you really want? Okay. And then when we start to have those kind of conversation, and you know, they know that another thing is that I always tell them it's everything we discuss is confidential, right? So the coaching conversation is nobody else is going to know. It's between us.
Yeah.
And unless they decide to share, otherwise, you know, I am not going to share this at all. It's completely confidential. And once they know that and they feel safe, and then they tend to relax and then say, well, this is what I really want, or I wish I could do this, or I would like to do X, Y, Z. Okay. And then so that is the foundation of a coaching relationship, right? But you know, I think this is pretty much how I established my initial rapport with the client, right up front. But then there's over the years that I had a couple challenging cases that they are whether it's because they simply don't want to change, or they don't want to hear the feedback, is too hard for them. And it's really not something they wanted to do, and you can't force them.
It's true.
It has nothing to do with how good the coach is. It doesn't matter. I can have 10 MCCs. It doesn't matter.
It's true.
Right?
It's true.
It doesn't matter. And it's the willingness on the client side is the key.
Yeah. It's like, you know, you want to bring that horse to the water, but the horse chooses to drink by themselves. And you're absolutely right. It's creating that atmosphere, that space that is safe and open and even genuine, I would say, with that genuine level of care that we show as coaches. And they would feel like, I think this is going to be a good conversation. I think of it as having the best conversations with some of my closest friends. I'm sure the same with you, Maya. And you realize that why are we so close to these people and perhaps not so close with these other people, if you know what I mean? I mean, we're all friends, right? But we have chosen very few to be really honest and totally open and share that bit of ourselves that we may be even embarrassed to say with the other group of people. I guess that is how that friend has made us feel comfortable to be able to share that. That's how I link it back to this conversation. And you're right, you know, put coaching aside, it's basically a conversation, a trust conversation with two individuals. And it's a special space, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah, it is. And I never take it for granted, right? Because trust has to be earned. And they have to allow me to work with them. And so I can't force it. I can't say, trust me, right? It doesn't work. And so they have to actually feel like this is genuine and authentic. And of course, that I'm coming from a place that I don't have any agenda. And I'm there, I'm not, even though, it's a, most of the time, the company actually is sponsoring this type of a program, but I'm there to support them, right? And so I think that if they feel that they know the intention, and ultimately I'm there to see the best result that they wanted to achieve, I think that, the wall sometimes just, come down. Yeah, you can feel it. And then sometimes, though, I have to tell you, Mel, I can also sense that if somebody is just not forthcoming, and
that's true.
And that is, it can be very sensitive issues that we're dealing with, can be very delicate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so sometimes people just simply doesn't want to go there. It's just too scary.
It's just like someone's asking us, if we turn the table around and they're asking us those difficult questions that we may not have time to have thought through the answers, or because there's just so much on the line. It seems like it's me on the line, actually. I'm talking about me. I'm putting myself on the spotlight, and that's tough. And I think that's so important as well, right? Just like we work with these amazing clients of ours, and then there's the other side of it, where it's part of development that we also need to work with our coaches. Maybe supervision or having a mentor ourselves. Just like for you, you said your mentor, Marshall, right, over the many years. That's just so
I'm
amazing.
Always grateful for that. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you mentioned something that was really key, is that the coaching relationship, it can really involve a lot of vulnerability. Right? And because for someone to actually receive negative feedback from their boss, from their coworkers, even from their direct reports, and to read all of those negative feedback, and then to accept that, wow, that's how people perceive me, and then to accept that, and then actually Wei-Ling has the courage to step up and say, I'm going to do something about it. All of this, it's putting somebody in a very, very vulnerable position. And so, that's not easy to do. And I think as a coach that it's important for us to acknowledge that, right? And to continue to support them along the way, because it takes so much courage to face that reality, and then continue to to address those issues and wanted to change that. So I think that the courage is one of the key factors for a successful coaching relationship. Right? For the leader to be able to be courageous, and also humility is another really, really important factor. Be able to accept that I'm not perfect, because most of the leaders that we coach, particularly senior leaders that I coach, a lot of the very senior leaders, they're very successful, and all they hear all day long is, wow, you're great. You're successful, you're great, whatever you want, right? Just tell us, you're brilliant. And so nobody, would tell them in their face that, well, those are your shortcomings. So for successful leaders to want to get better, it requires a lot of humility. To be able to say, okay, I'm open to hear, what can I do to be better? How can I go from good to great? Right? And then willing to make those changes.
It's like me getting feedback from my wife. now that's tough. Let me say that
That's very tough. That's very
on
tough.
yeah, it's live, it's recorded. I love you, my wife, and sometimes it's not that easy. But
It's hard.
it's like building a muscle, isn't it? The
Yes.
more we exercise that muscle, and that's what you said, Maya, that humility as well, to
Yeah.
being, I wouldn't say just big enough to receive that feedback, but even maybe small enough to say you're absolutely right. You know, that's spot on, because when I
Yes.
get feedback from my wife, it's often spot on. It's just not the way I wanted to hear it. And I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
that's a better time and a better place for this feedback. But when I reflect on it, Maya,
Yeah.
she's
Uh-huh.
she's always
Yeah.
right.
You know what? Yeah, that's right. I bet she's a very, very good coach.
Oh
She's the
yeah.
coach's coach, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yep. I think, it's always hard to hear negative feedback.
Mm,
Yeah. But then how can we but we have to deliver it.
yeah, that's true.
We're not doing our job if we don't provide those honest feedback.
That's true.
And sometimes we have to call it out to the client
Yeah.
and say, look, are you being real honest with me?
Yeah.
Right? We have to call it out. And so it is important, I think, for us to, as coaches, to be real open. Here's the interesting thing, we're both Asians, and in Asian cultural, that we tend to be more indirect because we don't want to hurt people's feelings, and we try
That's
to
true.
save face, and we try to beat around the bush sometimes and not speak directly about what the issues are.
Yeah.
And so this is a big lesson I've learned over the years as a coach, is that if I am not telling my client the truth,
Mm.
and I am not helping them. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. If I'm sugarcoating it,
Oh yeah.
and that's not going to help them, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, that's become one of the key questions I ask the client when we do the chemistry call, is that what kind of coach do you prefer?
It's so
Right?
good.
Yeah. And would you like someone that's say it like it is, and give it to you directly, and give it to you straight, or you want someone that's gentle and polite, and or there are different ways, different
Absolutely.
styles,
Absolutely.
and there's not necessarily good and bad, but people have different preferences,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And to my surprise, that I have to say almost 9.9 out of 10 clients would tell me, give it to me straight, because
That's good.
every day they hear everybody else is telling them how great they are, that they live in a bubble. They don't hear the truth, and
Yeah.
they need somebody to tell them the truth.
Absolutely. It often says the truth will set people free, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it's obviously
Yes.
told, of course, in the right context, in the right space, safe space, where they feel that they're ready as well to receive it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Maya, I think this is a great segue to your book. It was launched during COVID, right? It's called Saving Face. Tell us a little bit about that, and obviously in the context of what we're talking about right now, the importance of that with leaders.
Sure. So I have authored and co-authored and contributing author for 14 books. And
oh wow, okay.
so, yeah, and
there you go.
So this most recent book, it's called Saving Face: How to Preserve Dignity and Build Trust. And I have wanted to write this book for a long time. Mel, I've been thinking about it, but finally, COVID was, of course, a global pandemic, right? And then so all of a sudden all my travel stopped. So I started everything is, I just basically locked down at home. I said, this is the perfect opportunity for me to actually finish this book. So why saving face, right? So I have coached and worked with thousands of leaders around the world for decades.
Yeah.
I learned so much about their success stories as well as their challenge, their struggles. And one of the most consistent characteristics that I have noticed in nearly a lot of those challenges that how people deal with every day is that how they work with each other and how they deal with each other. I have shared with them this concept that resonate with the leaders at all levels across different cultures. And this is so essential to their leadership. But it's also counterintuitive sometimes. And that's the concept of face. Okay. So face is a universal concept beyond its origin of Asia. I mean, we heard a lot about saving face, honoring face. This is mostly thinking this is Asian context, but it really is a universal concept. As I work with global leaders, that I find that this concept can apply to everybody.
Yeah.
Now, the concept of face permeates all levels of social and business interactions. Okay? It speaks to the common human desire to be accepted and respected. And when you hear the term, it's not about the money, the real issue is often about face. Yeah, so what is face? Yeah, so what is face? So the definition is very simple. Face represents an individual's self-esteem, self-worth, identity, reputation, pride, and dignity. It's all of it. It's all of that. So it's how you see yourself and also how others perceive you. And so that's face. So then there are three basic concepts about face. The first one is about honoring face. So honoring face is it means that you take actions to show respect, admiration, and grant dignity to others. And remember the quote that I shared with you from Maya Angelou, that people will forget what you said, forget what you did, but they will never forget how you make them feel. This is how you demonstrate that how you honoring face for others is to show them that I see you, I hear you, you matter. And second concept is losing face. And this is something you want to avoid. You don't want to cause people to lose face, right? Yeah. So, growing up in Taiwan, that I often heard my parents and teachers tell me this Chinese phrase. It's a proverb. It says, spilled water is hard to regain. That means that, hey, you spilled a glass of water, you spilled it all over the floor. And how hard is it to put it all back? Oh, nearly impossible, right? Well, and even you manage to put some back in the glass, do you still want to drink it? I don't think so, right? Yeah. So what this ancient saying is the reminder that whatever we say or do, once we've done it or said it, you can take it back.
That's true.
So then we don't want to cause people to lose face by doing or saying something without any thoughts or consideration. So losing face describes the situations when people feel devalued, humiliated, or unappreciated. And that is something that we wanted to avoid. But a lot of times that we cause people to lose face, we don't even know it. It's unintentional. So I think leaders, particularly when I coach global leaders who have been very successful, and they don't always realize that they can actually damage relationship or say or done something to cause people to lose face. They don't even know it. And the third final concept is saving face. Saving face is the authentic and intentional act of turning around the situation to preserve dignity for everybody involved for a positive outcome.
Mm.
Yeah. So saving face is it's an art, but it's so worth it for leaders to be intentional about it. So those are the basic concepts, and then there's a lot of case studies and real life examples in the book to illustrate why is it so important for leaders to master the concept of face. Right? And it's really, like I said, it's universal. This can apply to a leader in a Fortune 500 company, an executive, or can apply to an entrepreneur, can apply to a team member, individual contributor working in a startup, can apply to teachers, how they treat their students, can apply to how parents working with their kids, their teenagers, or just neighbors and friends. You know, it's basic interpersonal relationships.
That's so wonderful, Maya. And it's so important, isn't it? As we work with so many wonderful clients, just be able to help them understand their self-worth and just walk with them through that journey allows them this positive space in a way to save face.
Yes.
So important. I never thought it that way because I often linked it just about saving your own ego or esteem, you know.
Right.
And it is just so much deeper than that, isn't it?
I think a lot of times people misunderstand or misinterpret the real meaning of saving face. Saving face is not about cover up your own mistakes or tolerate bad behaviors. Or saving face is not about avoiding any kind of conflict or errors, but it's really about you have to be able to balance accountability with respect. Right? So then you'll be able to make people feel respected at the same time holding them accountable. And this is the balance that the leaders very often have to deal with. You know, too much respect, then you're really sugarcoating, you're not dealing with the real issue. Too much accountability that is so harsh that people feel demoralized and devalued and they lose face and then they quit or they, you know, they shut down. So how do you balance those two things? So then you'll be able to inspire people, hold them accountable, and continue to help them grow. At the same time, they feel appreciated and respected, and then they will try harder. So it's a real balanced act. That's the way I say it's an art.
Definitely. And just like that, saving face is an art. So is coaching. Coaching is
absolutely.
A beautiful masterpiece and an art. And you know, sometimes I feel, Maya, the world obviously needs coaching, is desiring that change and all of that linking and alignment back to people's potential and their values and what is important for them. And then there are times that I think that we could do a much better job as coaches to kind of communicate it more simply, kind of minusing all of the jargons to kind of set coaching in this level of excellence, which it is, right? It's an art, right? But yet bring it to a space where it's more acceptable, and so that more people get to know what this beautiful art piece is all about. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, absolutely. I think that this coaching is it's really evolving, right, over the years.
Absolutely.
And I think as more and more people enter this profession, that we need to continue to think about what can we do to utilize this beautiful skill set, you know, as a coach to bring out the best in people. And to really, I mean, this sounds like, you know, It's maybe a little bit big overused, but I still truly believe that it coming from a heart is that make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Right. And one day at a time, one person at a time, that every time when I have a coaching conversation with one person or with the group, with the team, that the goal is that how can I really use myself to create a positive outcome, create a better world, right? And particularly when we work with leaders that they have influence.
Yeah. So
you
true.
know, and how a great leader makes a huge difference in their environment, whether it's at work or in the community or in the world. So if we can be a good coach to help support the leader, then it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah. We live obviously in a amazingly fast-paced world today, and the leaders themselves, they go through tons of challenges and obviously opportunities as well. In your mind, what do you think the next level of coaching, that the future of coaching has to evolve into, so that we actually stay in check with the changing times ahead?
I think that as we start to discover the potential of coaching, right? And I have seen this industry, this profession, kind of exploded. And I don't know if it's in a good way or a bad way, but I've seen that coaching is becoming a positive way is that I think that we're establishing more standards, higher standards, more structure.
Yeah.
And that's all good, right? And also we start to define clearly what executive coaching is, what leadership coaching, life coaching. There's so many different kind of coaching. So I think it's, it become more and more clear now, what are we talking about? And also people have different levels of certification, which is also helpful because in continuous education. And now we're also seeing that there is a big push for coaches to get supervision. So that's also really, really positive movement to see that we're holding the standard, we're holding the bar very high. And we would like to continue to grow the coaches' professionalism and also the coaching standards. That's all good. And I also start to see that another positive movement is that they're making it more accessible for not just the most senior leaders, but also people in the middle manager, and also perhaps frontline or even individual contributors who aspire to become leaders. Then so there are different levels of coaching available to them, and then the cost is much more cost effective for them, but it's less involved, which is all good. What concerned me is that that as this industry is growing, that a lot of people are jumping into this field, that how do we really maintain that quality control, right? I mean, earlier I talked about, there are more standards, but it's still very fuzzy at some point, overall. So how do we really maintain the high standard? And also there's also the commoditization of coaching. And so almost it's like, let's start to have this bidding war as who is cheaper. Right? And then so that concerns me, because it's not like we're buying a pencil, or we're or buying a notebook that anybody can produce it. It's commoditized. But coaching is a require real skill set and a unique background individuals to do a good job on that. So I think that the commoditization is concerning. And also there's a new trend I've seen coming up, and more actually, it's about using AI coaches, right? And so the artificial intelligence, or sometimes you look at, I've tested on the virtual coaches that so I'm still very curious. I don't know how that's going to evolve. So is the machine going to replace human as coaches? Well, we'll have to see.
Wait and see. Yeah.
So that's all coming up, right?
Lots of things, and I love how you put it, Maya. It's the level, obviously the quality control, if I can say it in that way. Just making sure that we're honoring the art in the best way possible, as we honor our clients. We honor ourselves as well as coaches, and I think we all are held accountable to those standards and to one another as well. I think that's the power of it, when we as coaches can come together and be able to share this and share concerns together, and be able to, of course, get stronger together as well.
Yes, and that's why I really appreciate that your podcast, Mel, to interview the master coaches around the world, and then to really kind of get a sense of what this how are we evolving ourselves, and who are the master coaches, and then how are we doing, and what do we see. So you're doing important work here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate you as well. All the years of setting that pace and being able to be in that space even before coaching began. We're just so appreciative. And that's exactly why I'm doing this program, is to kind of say the same words that you have said. I see you, I hear you, and definitely we honor you. That's simple as that.
Thank you so much, Mel.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We're coming to the top of the hour already. It's been a pleasure to have you. I always ask this question because I know we're all in different stages in our journey as a coach. So for someone who's just walking in right now in this beautiful environment of coaching, what would be your advice be for them as they come in fresh into this beautiful world?
Well, if you are aspired to become a coach, I would suggest that you start to first of all listen to your podcast. Understand all the different coaches, their experiences, and their journey. And I actually have spoken to quite a few coaches who are starting out. So I think it's really helpful to hear how other people develop their career in this industry, in this profession, and learn about as much as you can about how you establish your network, and also and how do you then continue to grow and educate yourself and develop your skill set. But I think ultimately the most important thing is to ask yourself, is this what I want to do, right? And is this something that if this is something that bring me fulfillment, and then I truly care about helping leaders or helping others achieve what they want to achieve. Because one of the important mindset for coaches is that it's not about you. It's always about them. Then being the client that you work with, whether paid or not paid, it's always about them.
So true. Really value what you just said, the importance of honoring yourself as well as you come in, right? To truly be genuine about your purpose, your intention of why you're in this space, and to realize that we're all here to serve another human being. And that's just so beautiful.
Yes.
So thank you once again.
Yeah, you're so very welcome. The pleasure was all mine. Thank you, Mel. What a wonderful and inspiring conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So this has been the 100 Master Coaches show today with Maya and myself, Mel, saying take care, stay safe, and be the best that you can be. Take care for now. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
You have been watching the 100 Master Coaches series with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Brought to you by Catalyst Coach. www.catalystcoach.live. We will be right back with our next Master Coach on the 100 Master Coaches series.